welcome. It's the Property Talk, and of course, I'm joined by Sylvia Luchini, whose name I always say, she might be American, but Luchini seems like a name from Masakar. It's nice having you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're not a stranger to Uganda. You've been coming to Uganda. Now it is your ninth time. We had a previous interview with Steve, who actually happens to have been somebody who was introduced to Uganda by Sylvia.
Yeah.
Sylvia is also a pretty much common Ugandan name.
I know.
She's supposed to be part of us here.
Actually, my name in Uganda is Akiki.
Akiki. We have Akiki on the show now from IHC Global. And the first thing I want to ask you is that, yes, the training was very amazing and insightful, but IHC Global, to the layperson that's watching right now, what is IHC Global about?
What we do is we foster inclusive economic development by means of helping have fairer, more equitable cities. And we do this through policy research, advocacy, and practice on-the-ground programming. In the case of real estate, one of the pillars that we have for achieving our mission is affordable housing. And in order to have affordable housing, you need to have a functional real estate market. Real estate and real estate agents are an integral part of that. We're here to offer a training program about leadership, the importance of what is it that leaders need to have to bring about change and advocacy. A code of ethics, it's a key component. All the traits and skills sets that leaders need. And also we want to touch on strategic planning, mission, vision, how to run your own business.
Now, for all the times you've been coming to Uganda, where do you think the improvements have been in terms of our housing sector from your general observation?
I think that there is a lot of growth in the sector. I see that there is construction. I was amazed to see the highway, the Express highway. I mean, it has improved and streamlined traffic a lot. I see a lot of high density, high rises buildings that was not common when first time I came here. Population growth. So they are all good indications, and there's value that people are giving to education.
Now, the Real Estate Association of Uganda, which is area that you work with in Uganda, has done, for all the time we've worked with them, they've really thrown their socks off to ensure that we have a professionalized industry. Now, the key word being professional here in the industry, Steve and you were having sessions and you were talking about the code of ethics and all that. And these are very vital for a growing industry like ours. How important are such key areas in a growing industry for a growing economy like Uganda?
Well, it's key in the sense that if you want to have the ability of creating secondary markets, that's being done when you transfer homes that are already existing, you need to have ethical real estate professionals to allow this transfer to happen. If you don't have a code of ethics, then you're not going to have the ability of the consumer to trust in you, knowing that you're going to adhere to the highest standards of professional practice. The code of ethics allows the consumer protection, but the brokers, the professionals among themselves, to be protected. So this is really important. So along with the code of ethics, you also need to have a licensing law. And I know that Area Uganda has been working frantically to get this done. There were 2 drafts. Unfortunately, some did not pass into law, but I know that their area is still pushing strongly to get this, because it's definitely going to improve the sector. And by means of having a functional real estate market, it will propel to some degree to try to get more affordable housing. And that's a topic that I know you have an interest in. What can we do to solve the issue of affordable housing? In the United States, we're facing that serious problem. The reason being that the construction materials and the labor has ever increasing, and now the ability of individuals to ask for mortgages based on what they make cannot, there is a gap between what they can afford to get.
What's your mortgage rate like?
Right now, it's pretty low, but it's in the neighborhood of 3%, 3-4%.
Why did you just say it if you're watching? I think the bank that prides itself here to have the lowest interest rate, mortgage rate, is 18%.
I know.
So we're between 18, 19, 20, 21, and
I
I
know.
heard Canada, it gets even lower than that.
Yes, I know.
So do you see that one of the practical moves would be the government to encourage the Bank of Uganda to compare to yours? You're talking about 3% or so, and we're talking 18, 21%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Bank of Uganda has an interest rate that it's much lower than the one that the banks,
Commercial banks give,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think it will have a say, but I think another way of trying to capture long-term funds, and that's an issue why you have very high interest rate, because one, the cost of the money, and two, because you need to have long-term monies that will cover long-term mortgage
Yeah.
rates. So
And now, when you look at, we keep talking about housing inclusion,
yes.
and you've partly hinted on or touched on it, but we are looking at how more people can be able to access housing. If you're talking about your rural, outside the CBD of Kampala, and in the local areas, in the other districts, whose responsibility would this be? Is this the government? Is it private investors? Because pretty much most of the people outside the CBD of Kampala cannot afford some of the construction material you're talking about, but they deserve to live better. Most of our brothers and sisters outside Kampala have never seen the luxury of just having
Running water.
electricity, and some decent form of living.
I think it should be a combined solution. I think it should be government also working with the private sector.
The trouble with the private sector is they're looking for the profit, and to the private investor, the profit is not necessarily there.
Yes, you're right, but the government may offer some credits in terms of tax incentives,
Yeah.
that can help bring about the interest to go and to build something that it's affordable. And the other thing that you have to look for is more affordable ways of building constructions, and also changing the mindset that not everyone needs to have a single home, that you can live in places that it's high density or things like that. So it's a nice challenge.
At the end of the day, when we sit down practically here and wait for the government, nothing might ever seem to happen, because the government's got its own priorities. And I'm not saying the government is not doing is not playing its part, but the priorities at times tend to
Completely
be
different.
The private player might feel like, well, the profit and all that. Do we see more individuals encouraged to come out and they just take them up as CSR responsibilities? What do you think?
I think that's the way to go. And in many cases, I know many billionaires in the United States are looking for ways to try to bring about change. Not all of them are focused in housing, but for example, you have the Gates Foundation that has invested millions of dollars in health, trying to solve issues. So I agree with you. That's the way to go.
Okay, Sylvia from IHC, and if you've got any questions, please forward them through our official Facebook page. Any parting thoughts to anybody that is watching us right now?
Sure, that I love to be here in Uganda. I love your people, your culture, the weather, the way you dance.
The Maganda dance, or what?
Well, I was at a show yesterday that talked about all the different dances that Uganda has at a cultural center, and strong. I mean, women and men. They were doing things that were astonishingly pretty and very, very strong. And I was really taken by it. I enjoyed it tremendously.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
cheers.